Hey guys, welcome back to the Run It Back podcast. I am your host Joy. Alongside with me, as always, is Wes. How's your week, Wes?
Happy round one, Joy, and Run It Back Nation. Happy round one. I'm feeling good. It's a little bit rough this week, but hey, you know, just have a dose of F1 and maybe a little bit of time outside, and pain's gonna ease up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, what a race we had today, Wes. So we're recording this Sunday, March 28th. So pretty much the race is fresh on our minds. It was an incredible race, probably one of the best opening races I've ever seen in Formula One. But yeah, let's get into it, Wes. So throughout the first week of Formula One, I was super excited when Friday dropped. FP1 through FP3, Max Verstappen topped all practices. I think. I think it was FP2 and FP3 more. But yeah, he topped it all. And I was surprised. So at this point, people were saying like, okay, this is not Mercedes sandbagging, right? This is actually Red Bull just being a lot faster than Mercedes. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts if you kind of watch just even the highlights of FP1 through FP3?
It's pretty impressive because Red Bull is one of those teams that we expect to do better this season,
Right.
right? And that was a pretty good sample size on what they could do for the rest of the season. Of course, for Mercedes, it's now predictions or excuse me, like assumptions have now become reality.
Right.
There is now a team that's willing to go toe to toe with them.
Right.
And sure, it's FP1, 2, and 3. So, of course, the times there are not going to be reflective of what's going to happen later. So, on
Right.
Saturday and Sunday. But, of course, looking at it from a lens of supporting Lewis all these years, and I guess to some extent Mercedes, you're just kind of like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, there's a true challenge now. And then if you're a Red Bull, it's like, oh, yeah, our time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I felt kind of. It feels different this year, Wes. I was there when I was able to watch the season. I think it was 2017 when Ferrari had pretty much their best challenge when Sebastian Vettel was pretty much considered probably the second best driver on the grid next to Lewis Hamilton. And the first two races, Sebastian Vettel won. So he won Australia and then he won Bahrain back to back. For some reason, though, I wasn't that worried. I thought somehow, like Seb and Ferrari just weren't going to keep up. Maybe it's because of the development of the Ferraris. I kind of knew that they weren't going to develop as much as Mercedes, so I felt kind of safe. However, it feels different now. It feels different now. Red Bull look like they see, they smell blood in the water, and I feel like they're much more vicious team than Ferrari. And once they start winning, they're not going to stop.
Absolutely. I do also want to add that, like, McLaren showed out
Yeah,
in the FPs,
yeah,
Lando particularly, and it's now playing into our expectations, right, Joy? And you know, on your sentiment about Red Bull, it could be that they could be smelling blood in the water, but also they're so adamant about taking their Aero title back
oh yeah,
because they
absolutely,
were known as the Aero team,
right,
right? And of course, for the past few years, it seemed like Mercedes was like, we're the captains now.
right.
So now it's kind of like Red Bull's like, no, let's try and get that back.
Yeah, I'm glad that you pointed out McLaren because McLaren did look like they were right there. Like at some point of practice, in some points of practice, it looked like they were the second best team on the grid. But at the same time, Mercedes was still trying to kind of pick the right setup, and so I get that and stuff like that. But yeah, Wes, was there any other team that kind of stood out to you in FP3 or just in final
Or
practice?
in practice in general, free
Yeah.
practice in general. Uh Alpha Tori.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
our I hate to call him this, and he is technically younger than us, but our kid, our
Yeah.
freaking kid,
Yeah.
he had a good first few runs out there in FP.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and my brother were actually really excited about Yuki Tsunoda Yuki Tsunoda looks like he's really quick, and I actually probably contrary to popular opinion, I think he could beat Gasly in that AlphaTauri over the course of the season.
It looks like it, and of course, for all our listeners that are new, welcome to the show first and foremost. But of course, our experienced listeners know my favorite racing fictional show in its initial D.
Mm,
In FP, Yuki Tsunoda did an initial D move without really killing his time,
right.
which is basically a four-wheel drift with the car. So if you can do that and still not have your lap completely killed,
Right.
you're something special.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, for me, I guess my favorite well, it's not really an anime, but like a Japanese motoring show is Best
Best
Motoring.
motoring.
I mean, I love, that Max, Nobu, uh and then you have
Keiichi
DK,
Tsuchiya.
right?
Yep.
Exactly. So I love those three guys. And I think it's Max, right? Max Orito is also still in GT300
Yeah.
for it. So yeah,
No, no, both of them. Him and Nobu
oh, Nobu. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I
or
haven't really
Nob
seen Nobu.
or
I've seen
Nob as they
Max,
call him.
but yeah, yeah. It's funny seeing them because usually they joke around in Best Motoring, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they always like do some dumb things while driving cars at their absolute limit.
yeah, absolutely. And so, but yeah, I'm just glad that there's a Japanese driver on the grid, and he is really fast.
Agreed.
I think
Agreed.
the last time I've ever seen a Japanese driver with this much pace in the car was probably Nakajima. No, no,
Kazuki.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nakajima, right? Yeah, yeah. Was he? Was
He
he
was
the last one? The last, the driver for Toyota.
oh no,
Or
because
no,
Nak
no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're not excuse me, because Kazuki was
Oh, I mean Kobayashi.
Kobayashi,
Kobayashi.
yeah.
There you go.
Kazuki was Williams Toyota
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Williams BMW, I think, but
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So Kobayashi.
Kamui.
Kamui Kobayashi. Absolutely. So yeah, he has Kamui Kobayashi pace. Now Kamui Kobayashi, I don't know if you guys, if any of the listeners are keen Formula One fans as well, but Kamui's downfall was pretty much like he got into a lot of accidents. It doesn't seem like the case for Yuki, and so that's why we're excited. He seems like a kid that just that has the grip into. He's a natural, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, it's still very raw, right?
Right.
But of course, it's very special. But Joy, I mean, I know you just asked me, but I kind of want to ask you back. What was who stood out to you?
Oh, okay. For me, the guy who stood out the most, I think, was Norris, Lando Norris,
Lando.
P4,
Yes.
right? My goodness, there was a moment in the we'll talk about it later, but he had great moments throughout the weekend, but no greater moment than in the race, finishing P4. And so, but yeah, let's move on, Wes.
Sure.
Qualifying. Biggest
Oh
shocker
my
to you.
God. Biggest shocker. Ferrari 1 and 2 in Q2.
Q2. Oh yeah, 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 absolutely. That was
And in a virtual tie.
I was kind of it was shocking to me because I was like, maybe Ferrari just let the horses go. They just let the prancing horse go.
Well,
Cause like,
I mean, now that you say that, maybe they did, and it was just like, okay, that's it, we're done.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I thought for a second there that Ferrari was back and they could challenge Red Bull and Mercedes. So, but yeah, um, for me, I think the biggest shocker to me was Perez. Right?
That was a little rough. I'm not gonna lie.
It was
Him and
rough.
Sebastian.
Oh yeah,
That
well,
was not fun to
Sebastian.
watch. That was not fun to watch for either of those two guys.
Right. Now, funny thing is, there's a report saying that Sebastian Vettel's time was hindered by the double yellow flags, and that what do you call it? And that he had to back out of his lap, right, because of the double waved yellows, when Mazepin spun for some reason.
Well, apparently that contributed to a penalty
Right.
for
Yeah, absolutely.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
But still, overall, it was pretty underwhelming
Right.
for even in general, even before that.
Right. So he ignored double waved yellows. If so, for anyone listening, he actually ignored the double waved yellows, and what that means is that someone's either had a crash or spun out, and you're supposed to slow down just in case there's something on the track that you don't see. And Sebastian Vettel ignored it. But here's the funny thing, Wes. So Sebastian Vettel ignored the uh, the flags, yet the stewards noted that he was actually going slower. Like there was no way that he could improve his lap, even though he ignored the yellow flag. So he probably could have stayed 18th. He probably could have qualified 18th regardless. But yeah, that's kind of heartbreaking.
That
For,
still sucks
right.
because we put so much expectations on Sebastian having a bounce back year
Yeah.
with Aston Martin, and right now it's not there.
It's not there. Yeah. 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 I was hoping that he could kind of prove himself a little bit more. But yeah, like what I was saying, um, Sergio Perez was only 3/10 off of Max Verstappen in Q2 when he was knocked out. He was in P11, and it was 3/100th of a second that he missed from getting to Q3, which sucks because the team asked him, Red Bull asked him, if he wanted to go to the soft tires to secure a place in Q3. He said no, keep me on the mediums. And so, yeah, in hindsight, could you imagine how different this race would have been if Perez was alongside Bottas, right? Like strategy just goes out the window after that for
Sure.
Mercedes. So
But then again, also, we don't want to undermine how well Ferrari and McLaren did to get to
yeah.
where they actually were on the actual grid.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
of course, in a way, it kind of made sense for Checo because Checo is good at tires.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
it just
He's
didn't play out. And of course, I'm sure, I'm sure once it was noted that Checo did not make it out of Q2, Formula Internet went, "Oh no."
yeah. all the memes of Christian Horner and Helmut Marko on the phone calling substitute drivers on the way, like all of a sudden popped up. So
I
that
bet
was
I
that was
wouldn't be
quite
surprised
funny.
if there was a meme of Alex Albon just sitting somewhere,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like pretty upset.
With a sniper scope. Yeah. But yeah. Qualifying was quite pretty straightforward, but it was still chaotic in a way. Max
Let's not
Verstappen.
let's not forget, yeah, the back and forth at the front.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, like pretty much just going back and forth. Lewis and Max trading blows for pole position. I think also Bottas 4 tenths behind Hamilton. That's kind of it's not good.
I'm gonna save my Botas talk for later, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna
move.
let my batteries charge real quick.
Yeah,
ERS
yeah. So
let my ERS charge up a little bit.
absolutely. So that's gonna be a bigger topic for you guys. The Red Bull and the Mercedes. But right now we're gonna cover the race for the midfield and everyone else below. And so yeah, was incredible race today. Um, like I said, it was probably one of the most exciting opening races I've ever seen. And
Hell yeah.
usually we open in Australia, but now we open in Bahrain, which is not bad. I really like this track. Anything that surprised you in the race, negative and positive?
Negative and positive. I'm surprised that MSC did not really do much.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I thought he would be. I mean, he was ahead of the Williams, I think, at the end of the day, right?
no, no, no.
But
He was last. He was dead last, I think. Or
oh
I
wow,
think I think Gasly was actually dead last, but
Yeah, it goes to show how where my eyes are on the timetable.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Really, at
No, no,
one through 10. But
no. But you're not
yeah,
wrong. He was in no man's land. He was just by himself, literally the entire race.
yeah, and of course,
Oh
we can't
yeah,
blame MSC Mick because as the announcer said, doesn't help when you have the slowest car.
the
It
slowest
doesn't help
car.
to do too much when you have the slowest car on
Right.
the grid. And of course, both Haas drivers did too much. One of them went off after 3, which I'm pretty happy about. Not gonna lie.
All right.
Um,
What is it
fucking
about
egghead.
Haas? What is it about Haas and turn threes? I don't know. I was just playing.
But anyway, also I Williams, man, come on.
Yeah, I mean they're getting up there. They're trading with they're trading blows with Alfa Romeo. So
Okay, but how the hell are you gonna go to Q2 and lose it?
yeah, yeah. I mean that's George. I mean that's just
It's not
George.
George's fault.
Right,
I
right.
know, but you
Yeah.
would think that they would make a little bit of more strive than just battling with Alpha.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, but yeah.
But for better, I'm not gonna lie. McLaren whipped that horse ass, slapped that horse on the ass,
Oh hell
especially
yeah,
Lando.
hell yeah, dude.
Rick, I kind of wish Rick did a little bit more, but it's okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean yeah. I mean first race, right? As a McLaren driver, I didn't expect a lot from him. I thought he did pretty well. But yeah. Fun fact, Wes Haas is not gonna develop the car throughout the season, so they're gonna. This is gonna be a long 23 races for them.
Yes. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm
Uh.
kidding. I'm kidding. I want them all to do well. Maybe 19 of the 20 drivers on the grid, but
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, man, that's just kind of heartbreaking, right? Haas is not gonna develop the car. They're already the slowest car on the grid, so
well, I mean that's kind of their own doing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah. But yeah. I don't know. For me, what's the most shocking? I think the most shocking event that also goes well with a quote that was being said during the race was what is he doing? Like, well, what is he doing? He moved lines, and that was Sebastian Vettel when he literally rammed in the back of Esteban Ocon's.
I cannot explain that because I don't know what the hell happened to Sebastian.
Dude, he literally just ran in the back of Ocon,
He's got a yip or something.
and I don't know if you heard the radio West, but Vettel kind of blamed it on Ocon, saying
No,
that
I know.
he
I
moved
watched the race in full joy, and
right,
I was like, that doesn't make any sense
right, because
because
he didn't move at all. He was just straight.
Ocon actually technically, or not technically, he actually had the right position because of
Right,
course when you're going right, you go left, then
right,
right,
right.
not in the middle of the road, then right. It doesn't work unless you're playing the damn video game.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening to Sebastian. But I hope he gets out of this funk. It's because watching him in the back of the field while Stroll is actually fighting in the midfield, kind of wheel to wheel, kind of being impressive. Uh, Sebastian was, but
I mean, I hate to be like a stickler, but it's still pretty underwhelming.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's
But
still pretty under. It feels like the pink car was a little bit faster,
oh yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. The Aston
but
Martins,
the green looks so nice though.
it does, but definitely, it's not a secret, right? Like the Aston Martins are no longer the third best team on the grid. They're no longer the third fastest team, and so yeah,
I
yeah.
do want to add this though. It just gave me joy to see our kid in points places for a good while.
P9, 3 points, right?
There
So
you go. Look at that. 3 points in your first race.
yeah,
Yeah. Yuki.
that's three more than Gasly. So but no, I'm just playing. But yeah, I guess the number one thing that surprised me in a positive way, hmm. I'm probably just gonna put it out. The Ferraris, they they actually did pretty well in the race, right?
Oh no,
They
yeah, they did great. Of
right
course, it was just funny to see sim racing become real, i.e., Lando
Lando versus
rounding the
Leclerc.
outside on Leclerc, and it
Yeah,
actually worked.
yeah, absolutely. And what I love about this is that it's close racing. It's on the edge, but it's never to the point where you think it's unfair. You know, like because someone either pushes someone off or like because these young drivers they just have so much respect for each other. They just want to see each other. They just want to race each other clean, and that's what I get. That's what I feel when I see Leclerc and Norris race, and even Sainz, right? And Ricardo. There was just this race was just back and forth, right? It doesn't matter if you were just watching the front of the field or the middle of the field. There was action going on, and that's what I loved. But yeah, yeah. Any more thoughts, Wes, on the race?
Uh, you know, no, let's get into the juicy details up in the front, if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, guys, we're gonna. You don't want to take a break? Okay, cool, cool, cool. We're gonna take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back in a couple with the Run It Back podcast. And so we will continue by talking about the two biggest teams in Formula One and two of the teams that are vying for the championship. It seems finally we have two teams going for the championship. But yeah, let's talk about the team that looks like they're the fastest team in Formula One at the very moment, and that's Red Bull, right? Wes, what are your reactions to Red Bull throughout the weekend, and maybe just if you want, just the race as well,
If I had to really sum it up, Joy, they did everything right, but for whatever
but
reason,
win.
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like the clutchest of the clutch moments just didn't fall in Red Bull's favor. But, you know,
Right,
for the most part, it was pretty much Red Bull's race to win
right,
because they did everything right. When I was speaking with you outside of our podcast, Joy, I said that it's an easier thing that's said than done, but there's a three-phase game plan to beating Lewis.
right,
Beat him in qualifying, beat him in the start, and run away from him over the X amount of laps.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Technically, Max did all 2.99 out of those three things.
yeah. Yeah,
And holy cow, I think Red Bull has put the competition on notice
yeah. Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
they're not messing around anymore, and that this floor change and all this stuff is going to work to their favor. And of course, I think a part of it is also just the motivation because they're going to be losing Honda after the year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you know, you say that because yeah, they were quite close to perfect this weekend, right? There were some kind of for me there were some questionable decisions that were made by Red Bull. Was that when Lewis Hamilton did um when he did the undercut, Red Bull decided to keep Verstappen out when they knew that he was losing time to Lewis, and then that pretty much gave Lewis the lead. And yeah, it was just strange. And of course, right, like we said, if Sergio Perez was there, if he was lined up in the second row next to Bottas, I'm pretty sure, you know, and that's what me and my brother were also talking about. Like if Max Verstappen finds himself in a Mercedes sandwich, it's over because then they could just play any kind of strategy that they want against Max, and Max would have to obey whatever strategy that because then if Bottas is on third and if they undercut, then Verstappen has to cover that undercut. It's the vice versa, and so yeah, having Perez there forces Mercedes to think twice about what they do, and that's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about that because Verstappen found himself in that sandwich so many times, especially towards the I think it was the last stint where yeah, you said Lewis was chewing up the time, and I don't know why Max in his right mind said keep me out there if I have the pace when he clearly didn't.
Right.
So I don't know. It was a big chess match, and that's what I really enjoyed. I really did. Um, and I mean, also, but I will also say, like for Red Bull though, it was pretty underwhelming to see Perez stuck in the formation lap.
Oh my
That is
god.
not a good look at all.
I'm just glad he was able to get it started and then you know go on from there. Now of course he had to start pretty much last. He had to start from the pit lane. Um, but yeah, 5 points, 5 points, P5 today, which those points are going to be so crucial when we get to constructors when we're and so but
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. I mean, 100%. Yeah, he was cutting through the field, but then again, let's also not forget that there's still some lingering parts issues because Verstappen was fighting differential issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's this obviously there's controversial between turn 4, how deep can you go on the exit, and so yeah, there's definitely a lot of controversy. But we were speaking earlier today, Wes. It seems like Max Verstappen is very mature. He's matured so much, right? Not only that, he listens to the team. He trusts the team a lot more than when he was younger. And yeah, it seems as though yes, he looked disappointed when he was on the podium that he couldn't, he didn't get the win. But at the same time, he knew that that second place wasn't the worst thing that could happen to him.
Well, for sure. And, that's part of being an adult,
Right.
right? You're supposed to mature as you get older.
Right.
Like I would be hard pressed to think that Verstappen's still going to act like a kid, at his age,
Right.
you know. Uh and yeah, I mean, he has every right to take today's P2 pretty hard
Right.
because they did just about everything right, Red Bull. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, it's a reminder of how great your opposition is, and it's gonna take a lot more. And I really mean that, a
Yeah.
lot more than what you all just did to beat Lewis.
Yeah.
In other words, you have to come up with the A plus plus game plan, and you better hope that Lewis comes with a B plus game plan. And how many times that's going to happen this season, I can't say for sure, but chances are it's not going to be much, if at all.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, yeah. Like you said, Wes, I do think that Red Bull lost this race. They didn't, and not as much as. Well, yeah. I think the headlines spoke for themselves, right? The best driver won today, not the best car, right? And so that speaks volumes of Lewis Hamilton.
Well,
So yeah.
right, and that's really how racing in its purest form is. It's not always about the car; it's about the driver.
Right, right, and obviously, like and I guess this is the perfect time to move on to Mercedes. But yeah, like Lewis gets a lot of criticism that he's always had the best car under him, but this season it doesn't seem like he does. And I think okay, here's the way I see it. Right, Bottas will give you the exact limit of the car, right? And Bottas was 4 tenths off of Hamilton in qualifying. I think there are special drivers that can push a little bit more on the car. Martin Brundle used to say like the greatest of us can find a tenth or here or two within a course of a lap, right? The greatest ones like Ayrton Senna can find half a second, and Lewis is pretty much finding a half a second between him and Bottas. And so I don't think that Mercedes car, that Mercedes Benz Formula One team, or that car, I don't think it's anywhere close to that Red Bull racing car. I think it's Hamilton that's making it really close.
Okay, Jared. Well, then my reminder to you is it's going to be a simple math, and I hope you can equate this for me.
Mm.
Lewis Hamilton plus quote unquote second best car equals
So far, a win.
so far a win. And the last time he was in that situation, aka McLaren,
Mm.
2008. What did that equal?
A championship.
Exactly. So it's
Well,
about the driver.
well,
It's
let's
about the
see.
driver.
Let's see. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, I mean, I want to see Lewis and Max, fight it out. But yeah, we will see, right?
Well, I'm not trying to say that Lewis is gonna go undefeated.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I
no, no.
can't, I can't, I don't think even Lewis can promise us that.
Well, yeah, actually, absolutely, absolutely, and I guess this kind of goes hand to hand with like how I think of Mercedes now. Why I'm so worried about Red Bull is because back then I could look at a calendar and say like, oh yeah, these are the races that Mercedes is gonna win, like for sure. But if I look at the calendar now, I don't think that there's one particular weekend that I'm confident that they're gonna win because it seems like Honda has built the best engine and Red Bull have the best car, have the best chassis.
That may be true as of right now, right?
Right.
But of course, you know,
Yeah.
we don't know until we race.
Right. 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 Well. Yeah. Yeah. That. Right. I mean. So in 2 weeks' time, guys, we're gonna be in Imola, historic Imola. We're back at Imola. Um. Early predictions. Wes. Imola.
Before we get there, can we talk about
Oh.
Valtteri
Yes.
Bottas real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sorry.
I think he's in hot water. I think the guy's in trouble.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. That's the reason why they signed him to a 1 year. Sorry for missing that, by the way. Yeah,
Bro,
thank you.
like how in the world? I mean, truth be told, uh James and Toto, don't ask him to hunt ever again. Ever.
Let's go hunting. Let's go hunting.
Ever.
That's what they told him, and guess what happened?
He fell
He
back.
fell back.
Oh my god.
Like, look,
And from the beginning he was already fighting red and orange,
absolutely, absolutely.
which is not what you want.
I mean, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
right.
granted, he called the car undrivable.
But
He called the car undrivable earlier in the weekend,
right.
but then you got somebody named Lewis Hamilton telling you otherwise.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's a driver on the other, pretty much on the polar opposite of the field, that constantly is driving cars that are unstable, but manages to get them out of Q2, right,
Into Q2.
into Q2, and aiming for a Q3, right? And it just so happens that he's a Mercedes driver, a Mercedes junior driver, right? And he is going to be open next season. So,
Let's just say, Joy, this weekend was not a good first weekend for second drivers.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Let's just say that for
that's the thing,
sure.
right? Like, I've always thought that the championship's going to go down to Max versus Lewis, and then on the constructors, it's Sergio versus Bottas, right? And
Right.
so,
And yeah, it's like yeah, both guys did not. They kind of underwhelmed. Well, not that kind is an
well, I mean,
understatement.
Sergio was on a rampage.
Sure, but still, like
Yeah,
just the visual effects of it, like him just getting stuck and him not making it out of Q2. That's not a good look.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I completely agree with you. I
And
completely
of
agree
course,
with you.
Bottas not being able to help anyone out there.
Yeah, yeah. I will say it right now. I don't think you're gonna see Bottas in that seat next year. Not unless Hamilton leaves, and of course, they're gonna need a second driver. But
Then that's going to be a retooling year for
right.
Mercedes.
Well,
Then
that's the thing. I think there's gonna be two new drivers in Mercedes if that's the case, right? If Lewis leaves, they're not gonna bring back Bottas.
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just keep talking. Let's just like continue on how disappointed we are.
Yeah,
in VB77
VB77. But yeah,
because VB sucked D today, and I try to like him.
yeah,
Okay, I try so hard
yeah.
to enjoy watching Valtteri Bottas, but he gives me a reason not to.
Oh, you're gonna love him if you watch Drive to Survive season 3 because you get to see all of him.
Oh, so that was the selling point. Anyway, uh,
You get
nah,
to see
man,
all of him.
I'd rather at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't flinch if Lando overtook him a few
Oh
times this
yeah,
season
no, no, uh, I
and never
completely
gave it
agree.
back. That's the thing.
I completely agree with you. If well, if Bottas and Sergio Perez were kind of like the lead drivers, let's say if there was no Lewis or Max, I mean, there would probably be no midfield. It'd probably be like one field and like the back markers. That's it.
Oh my god. Well, then that's what the fans want, right?
Well,
But
yeah,
then again, that means then we'd be robbed of generational talent, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
Max and Lewis. But then again, of course, the generational talents could possibly be like Lando, Charles,
Yeah.
you know, um,
And
or
that's
that,
not
that
a
golden generation, right? Like Lando, Charles, George.
all right, and that's not a knock on Bottas or Perez. It's just that you know that Max and Lewis are just that special because they were just by themselves racing each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I think also this race showed, you know, the birth of future Formula One stars too,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so
and maybe Formula One clowns, but that's besides the point.
we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. All right, Wes. So early predictions, Imola.
Early predictions, Imola.
I'll share. Yeah, I'll share mine just to give you a little bit more time.
Sure, please.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Red Bull dominance. I think this is one where it's a high downforce track. I think this is where Mercedes is gonna struggle a little bit if Bahrain is more of a power track,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's where Mercedes is gonna pick up points. I think this is a Red Bull dominated. This is gonna be a weekend that Red Bull's gonna dominate. Well, 2 weeks from now.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're gonna see more of the same.
Oh, okay.
I think we're gonna see a really big chess match,
In
and
Imola, wow.
and hey, you don't underestimate the team aspect of it all
Oh no, no,
and the
I'm not.
mechanics.
I'm
I'm
not.
sure. I'm sure they're gonna come with this. And by they I mean Mercedes. They're gonna come with a setup
Oh yeah,
that could be comparable,
yeah,
and from there we could see the same thing over and over again.
dude. If all the races are as exciting as it was today, I can't wait. I can't wait. 22 more races to go.
It took a Formula One a few years to get that straightened out, but hey,
I mean,
better late than never.
if the racing is close between Max and Lewis, imagine how close it's gonna be next year, right? When there's just a clean slate,
Well, that's a big if
right? We'll see.
because that one of those generational talents might not be around anymore
Oh
at
yeah,
that point.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's okay. I think the new era of Formula One drivers are they're up for it. We'll see, we'll see, and who knows? Maybe we might have a new champion by the end of it, by the new season. So we'll see.
For sure. For sure, man. But yeah, that's my take. I think it'll
Yeah,
be a lot of the same. Uh, so it's gonna be like Max versus Lewis, and then the two other guys are just not gonna do anything to help them.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I'll probably ask you the same question midway through the season, see where we're at in points until then. But yeah, that's the show tonight, guys. For the Run It Back podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Uh, Tune in for the No Decision podcast where we're gonna pretty much discuss, the landscape of boxing. The biggest news this week is pretty much Tyson, Holyfield, Fortuna, and Ryan Garcia, and even Povetkin and Dillian White. So yeah, stay tuned, you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Keep it on track. Be well.